قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا مولانا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وهدى وتقا ترضى عنا بهما يا رب العالمين. أما بعد, inshallah ta'ala, we continue to read the poem of Al-Imām Zainuddīn Makhdūm, and we are up to the 23rd line in the poem. We finished speaking about the introduction and speaking about the Tariqah, Sharia, and Haqiqah. We spoke about a few pieces of advice, and then we went into speaking about the beginning of these 9 advices that the author has summarized Tassawuf in. The 9 pieces of advice that you have to have if you want to be in the tariq, on the way of the Awliyā of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first advice was what? Tawbah, to repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That was the first advice. Took that this morning. The second advice is what? Is al-qanā'ah. Al-qanā'ah, which is translated as being content. Yes? Contentment, being content. Jameel? Inshallah, we'll hear what he says and then we'll go to explain it.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم اغفر لشيخنا ولمشايخه ولوالديه وللحاضرين وللمسلمين أجمعين آمين. قال الناظم رحمه الله ونفعنا به وبعلومه وبكم وبعلومكم في الدارين آمين. واقنع بترك المشتهى والفاخر من مطعم وملابس ومنازلا. من يطلب ما ليس يعنيه فقد فات الذي يعنيه من غير ابتلاء.
الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. He says, واقنع بترك المشتهى والفاخر من مطعم وملابس ومنازل. Which is translated as? Read both all the lines.
Be content by giving up desire with food, water, and house. Someone who seeks beyond his need will soon lose even what he needs.
All right. That's it? Okay. So, as Sayyidi Ibn Ashir says, رأس الخطايا هو حب العاجلة. The peak of sins and misfortune and mistakes, and what really leads people and leads them and forces them to going away from the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that they are attached to this short temporary world. And love of dunya, if it enters into the heart, it has so many different forms. It's not like it's one thing that you can get rid of. Dunya, when it enters your heart, it takes control over your body. And because of that, the most important thing to have after tawbah and repenting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that you are content. Okay? Is that you are content. Meaning that you don't have dunya as your first priority in life. It doesn't control your life, but you are in control of your life. This morning we said that you need to be in control of your life. Now we mentioned that if you are not in control and you are, the hawa, we mentioned that yesterday, the hawa, the desire of yourself is what's controlling you, you have lost. You will be misguided no matter how much you try. In order to close off these doors, and we said that the first advice he gave us to stay away from al-hawa is a general advice, and it summarizes so many things. Now, practically how to do it is what we're going to learn in this section and the next section. This section, it says the first key to not being controlled by your hawa, by your desires, by all these things, a simple solution is to work on having qana'ah, to being content with what you have. Okay? Which means that a Sufi is someone who doesn't care, whose state wouldn't change whether they had $1 million or they had $100. They wouldn't change. It wouldn't change him as a person. Okay? So qana'ah isn't about having or not having. It's about not caring, about being content and happy with whatever Allah Ta'ala brings your way. Whatever He gives you subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why Sayyidina Imam al-Shafi'i, he says, what does he say? إِذَا كُنْتَ ذَا قَلْبٍ قَنُوعٍ فَأَنْتَ وَمَالِكُ الدُّنْيَا سَوَاءٌ. Yes? If you are a person who has a heart that's content, you and the owner of the dunya, the person who has every single thing in this dunya, are exactly the same. Yes? Exactly the same. If you think about it, someone who who hoards and gathers everything in this world, they only do it to meet a certain, feeling, to satisfy something in themselves. And if someone was to hoard and to gather, let's say, a large percentage of dunya, fourth of the dunya, a third of the dunya, there would still be other things that they would look forward to. As Sayyidina Rasulullah says, that the son of Adam, if he was given what? 2 valleys of gold full, he would want a third one. He wouldn't be happy. That's how you are. You can't change it. Yes, Allah Ta'ala created you that you love, you seek more. That's how we ask. We're greedy. In our creation, we're greedy. Look at little kids when they're born. They want, they don't want to share things with you. Why? Greed is one of those attributes that we are born with and we have to work on. Okay? And that's why we say in Tasawwuf, change your greed to being greedy for deen, for greedy for khayr, yes? Because you can't get rid of it 100%. It's going to be in you. But you can switch it, you can change it, you can direct it in a different way. Okay? So qana'ah, when it comes into things that are not related to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, things that are physical, things of the dunya, okay, is the key to that. So what Sayyidina Imam Shafi'i is saying that if that's the case, someone who has a lot of the dunya but doesn't have every single thing in the dunya, they will still be looking forward to more until they have the whole entire dunya. Only then will they feel that they had achieved something. Okay? By having a content heart, you've reached the same outcome without going through all the pain and suffering and losing all the barakah by gathering all the dunya. So, إِذَا كُنْتَ ذَا قَلْبٍ قَنُوعٍ فَأَنْتَ وَمَالِكُ الدُّنْيَا سَوَاءٌ. If you have a content heart, you and the owner of all the dunya are exactly the same. Yes? So subhanAllah, and this line of poetry, yes, it helps you spiritually be clear and not worry, not stress, but subhanAllah, it also helps humanity and mankind and the society with the biggest, challenge of the day and time, anxiety and stress, subhanAllah, yes? Worrying about, achieving a certain standard, working up to please other people, making sure you have, the newest car, the newest this, the newest that, subhanAllah, and not being happy with what you have. If you want to think about it, every one of us, subhanAllah, we live in a country and a place where we have every single thing you could ever imagine. Yes? We eat meals from all 7 continents. Alhamdulillah, we have families, we have structure, community, we have masajid, we have khayr of dunya and akhirah, alhamdulillah. All of it without us having to do much, subhanAllah. Even if we work for a few hours a day, whatever, it's all there. And someone in this situation who still isn't happy, feels like there's more, definitely has a problem with the qana'ah, being content, the heart. Other than that, subhanAllah, there's other people who die for this. But it's just that you're not satisfied with what you have. Yes? And it's an illness that can grow and grow and grow. If you don't cut it on, it will keep on growing. You either stop it or it will grow. Okay? Some people, they have a job. They start working. They start, building a family. They're not happy. And they put pressure on everyone around them and stress on everyone around them in the world. and the whole family becomes very toxic and unhealthy because one person, the leader of the family, isn't happy, isn't content with their life. People get married, they're not happy with their wife, they change them, to fix them, do this and that. Why? Because you're just not happy with what you have. You want something else. You look at other people's examples, yes? Look at all of this comes down to not having qana'ah. Yes? But if someone, like we said the other day, a person who's just a simple darwish who's just going about his daily life, if he was to, have whatever it is, he would be happy. You don't stress people around you. People will find that you are satisfied with whatever you have, and you simply just want to have a simple life that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you accept Allah ta'ala even gives you more than that. But if it goes, you wouldn't fall into depression, anxiety, make people stress about you. That's proper qana'ah. So waqna' bi tark al-mushtah. How do you reach qana'ah? How do you become content? To not keep on feeding yourself, ongoingly feeding yourself and not depriving yourself from little elements of dunya ever. Okay? So if you keep on, let's say, trying to reach a certain standard in dunya, a really high standard, say you have to eat the best food ever, no matter what. Okay, you have to have a really delicious 3-course meal every single day. Okay, and if let's say the food isn't cooked a certain way, you get upset and depressed. Setting standards like this in your life. Okay, you have to wear a certain brand, a certain thing, look a certain way, and if that doesn't work out, you get very upset. These kind of things are exact opposite of what you're supposed to do. Yes, these are the things that feed the love of dunya in your heart. These are the things that feed attachment to dunya in your heart. These are the things that will make you less have less not being less content in your life, and these are the things that will drive you away from Allah Ta'ala and will subhanAllah destroy anything else that you built. So he says, by tark al-mushtaha wal-fakhiri, to leave aside, put aside the super expensive, the super tasty things that you don't need just for the sake of having it. But sometimes, let's say, alhamdulillah, you enjoy what Allah Ta'ala gives you, but it doesn't matter if sometimes you choose some days to not have that thing. You choose to skip, having the best type of coffee in the morning. You choose to skip, having a certain standard of food. It's okay, one day you eat this, one day you eat meat, one day you don't. You have to have the same thing every day. The more you're flexible like this, the more your nafs will start to accept. Okay, that's why, subhanAllah, coming out of your comfort zone a little bit sometimes, a little bit. Okay, and giving yourself small shots of getting out of your comfort zone and just letting things be as they are will raise the qana'ah in you, the level of qana'ah that you have. So he says the easiest way is to leave aside المشتهى والفاخري من مطعم وملابس ومنازل. Food, clothing, and housing. Yes? Food, clothing, and housing. To be happy with whatever you have. So, some people, shabab who are not married, let's say they spend some days, they sleep on the ground. Sometimes, a few days a month maybe. They go get together, they go out somewhere. They don't have to, let's say if they're going to traveling somewhere, they don't have to sleep in a hotel. Not always, but sometimes. Khalas, it's okay. You don't have to live to that standard. Okay, I don't know how to sleep other than that. Try to work on disattaching yourself to the dunya in these ways. Like I said, it's not just because you physically don't want to have things, but it's about teaching yourself to be flexible and to accept whatever you have. Someone gives you food, it's not the best type of food. As long as it's not going to harm you, it's not something that your nafs doesn't accept at all, make you sick, it's okay. You don't have to eat only the things that are the best. You could eat food that is not the best, for example. That's another example. He says, من يطلب ما ليس يعنيه فقد فاته الذي يعنيه من غير ابتلاء. He says, if you're always seeking things that you're not supposed to have, okay, things that are not your business. This dunya is not our business. Yes, our business is the akhirah. We are supposed to invest in the akhirah. If you're just seeking the dunya all the time, what you're supposed to be seeking won't come your way. You will have lost it. The only way to do it is you have to prioritize akhirah. Like I said, making Allah Ta'ala your priority, making religion your priority, making the priority connecting to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is the only way forward. We mentioned that in Tawbah, we mentioned that in all different classes, that prioritizing your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only way. It has to be a priority in life, okay? And like, it doesn't mean that you live a life that isn't productive, that you live a terrible life, that you live a depressed life. No, it's not about that. That idea of zuhd is incorrect. But like I said, your priority, the thing that makes you happy and sad in your life is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You would never do something that displeases Allah. You would never be happy to be in that situation. That is a proper state of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you keep on asking and following what's not yours, what you're supposed to seek will not come your way. So Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, min husni islam al-mar'i tarkuhu ma la ya'ni. Yes? An element of proper Islam. There's Muslim and there's someone who has proper Islam. Husn al-Islam has a perfected type of Islam. An element of that is what? To leave aside what's not your business. To not interfere in what is not your business. That doesn't just mean not speaking about other people's business. That's one thing, yes. But also not being overwhelmed and fixated and spending your whole life making a priority in life, things that you're not supposed to do. Yes? If someone says, all I care about life is, following, some team, in sports, cheering a team, and if when it's the end of the World Cup or something, I just spend 10 hours a day, 4 hours a day watching and cheering, and that's it. That's not husn al-Islam. That's not perfecting your Islam. Okay, why? You're wasting hours and hours. You're making it a priority. You're living in control. Yes. Your priority should be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So to have a proper Islam, you should focus on what matters to you, and other than that, let it be. Let it be. Don't focus on whether it's your life or other people's life. Don't focus on what's not your business. Focus on your own thing. Yes. Don't worry about other people. What people think about you. What people say. What people want. What people don't want. Both ways. Not just do what people don't want. No. Don't focus. Don't worry either way. Accept whatever it is. Yes. Don't make people your priority. Don't make dunya your priority. But just let things go. Live a simple life and be focused on what you're supposed to do. Only then will you have happiness in your life. Only then you will feel satisfied in your life, and only then you will have qana'ah. You'll have qana'ah, which is a key element to have on your way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the line of poetry where he says, من يطلب ما ليس يعنيه فقد فاته الذي يعنيه من الابتلاء. Whoever searches for what is not from their concern, what they're supposed to search for, they would miss. This line of poetry is actually a saying by Imam Ali, and we know Imam Ali, he is of course the peak when he comes into understanding the ilm of Tazkiyah and spirituality in Islam. He says, "Man talaba ma la ya'nihi fatahu ma ya'ni." Yes, whoever searches for what they're not supposed to be bothered with, what they're supposed to, the reason of their life that they're supposed to live for, will have been taken away from them. They won't be able to catch up with it. So, inshallah, that's enough to talk about qana'ah. So qana'ah is one step, and the next chapter will be continuing the concept of qana'ah and adding to it, inshallah ta'ala. So now we have tawbah, repentance to Allah ta'ala, then being content, being satisfied with what Allah ta'ala gives us. We'll read the next chapter, which is az-zuhd, which is chapter of zuhd, inshallah ta'ala.
قال رحمه الله: وازهد وذا فقد علاقة قلبك بالمال لا فقد له تك أعقلا. والزهد أحسن منصب بعد التقى وبه ينال مقام أرباب العلا. ومحب دنيا قائل أين الطريق أين الخلاص كمسكر شرب الطلا. واترك من الأزواج من ما ساعدت في طاعة واختر عزوبا فضلا. لسلامة الدنيا خصال أربع غفر لجهل القوم منعك تجهلا. وتكون من سيب الأناس آيسا ولسيب نفسك للأناس باذلا.
Renounce, that is to sever your heart's link to money, not to link yourself from money. Then you will be the bright one. Zuhud is the best station after taqwa, helping us reach the station of higher masters. The lover of the world asks, where is the way? Where is redemption? Like the intoxicated who drank liquor. Forsake from among your wives one who hardly helps in obedience. Prefer celibacy instead. To escape from this world, one needs 4 qualities. Forgive ignorance of people. It prevents your ignorance. Stop desire of people giving you, and be generous with your giving them.
Now, the third advice is to have zuhd. To have zuhd. What does zuhd mean? It means, and zuhd is one of those concepts that Tassawuf used to be called the science of zuhd in some stages of history. Okay? And most of the early scholars of Islam wrote books called the Book of Zuhd. Imam Ahmad wrote the Book of Zuhd. Imam Abdullah Mubarak wrote the Book of Zuhd. Imam Ibn Abi Dunya wrote the Book of Zuhd. They always write. Why? Because zuhd for them is basically a summary of not being attached to dunya. When you're not attached to dunya, you're immediately attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So zuhd is really one of the main concepts, and the Sufiya were called the Zuhad, many times in history. One of the names of Sufiya are the Zuhad, the people who aren't interested in other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A lot of people believe zuhd means what? Means that you physically stay away from money, from food, from anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't get married, you don't work, you don't earn income, you don't have anything. Okay? Although zuhd, as he's saying, has nothing to do with that. Yes? Qana'ah, we just studied before, has more to do with it than zuhd. Qana'ah is about teaching yourself to disattach from these things. Okay? Zuhd is to not have any of these things in your heart at all. So, money no longer has a place in your heart. Okay? Following the best trends doesn't have a place in your heart anymore. Okay? Having mansions and just living life, it doesn't have a place in your heart anymore. It's not a priority of anyone, whether you have it or not. Okay? So zuhd would be to have $1 million or have nothing and not care. Okay? Zuhd would be that a person who has $1 million wouldn't link if it all disappeared in one day. That would be zuhd. Okay? So he says, وَازْهَدْ وَلَا فَقْتُ عَلَاقَةَ قَلْبِكَ. Make sure you have zuhd. And zuhd is about not having any relation in your heart with these things. Not بالمال, with money for example. لا فقت له تك أعقلا. Not actually not having these things physically, but not having them in your hearts, not having a relationship in your heart with them is zuhd. And then it says, وَالزُّهْدُ أَحْسَنُ مَنْصِبٍ بَعْدَ التُّقَى وَبِهِ يُنَالُ مَقَامُ أَرْبَابِ الْعُلَى. Zuhd is the best station. Zuhd is also one of the maqamat, one of the stations that you reach in Tasawwuf, and it's the best thing to reach after being a person who is aware, who is fearful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is to be a person who is zad in the dunya. Yes? That's why Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, إِزْهَدْ في الدنيا يحبك الله. إزهد في الدنيا يحبك الله وازهد ما في أيدي الناس يحبك الناس. If you think about it, every section of this book we mentioned one thing, which is that this is an attribute that Allah Ta'ala loves. Yes or no? We said it in taqwa in the beginning of the class, and we said it in tawbah, in Allah yuhibbu at-tawwabin. Yes? Allah Ta'ala prioritizes, He loves these people. The zuhd also has the same thing. In the hadith, Sayyidina Rasulullah also mentioned these are the people who love. So all this section in this book, we said in the beginning of the book, you're going to find that these are all sections that Allah Ta'ala loves. You find ayat and hadith talking about that these people being the people who Allah Ta'ala loves and prioritizes, and He will bestow good upon these people. The zuhad are also one of these people. Izhad fi dunya yuhibbuka Allah. Yes? Make sure you have zuhd in dunya, and Allah Ta'ala will love you. If you're not interested in dunya, Allah Ta'ala will love you. Why? Because dunya is exactly the biggest enemy to any relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Dunya is something temporary, something that is full of falseness, full of, subhanallah, ghurur. Is ghurur in English? In Arabic? Huh? Deception. Yes, I said, Allah Ta'ala says, وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. Yes, all dunya is, summarizing everything about dunya is مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. It's a very short, tasty, deception that is going to leave you soon. That's all dunya is, yes? That's what Sayyidina Rasulullah when he was in Medina, he walked past a dead animal in the street of Medina. Imagine a dead, animal that smelled very bad. And he says that dunya means less to Allah Ta'ala than this. In the other hadith, لو كانت الدنيا تساوي عند الله جناح بعوضة ما سقى الكافر فيها شربة ماء. If dunya weighed in the eyes of Allah Ta'ala even the weight of the wing of a fly, okay, he wouldn't have given any blessings to someone who disbelieves in him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. He wouldn't give them even water to drink. But because dunya doesn't mean anything to Allah Ta'ala, he gives it to everyone. Yes, he gives dunya to people he loves, people doesn't love. Dunya doesn't mean anything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, that's why you find the worst of people have the best in dunya. They live luxurious lives, they do whatever they want because Allah Ta'ala doesn't care about it, so he gives it to the people he doesn't care about. Yes, some good people have dunya as well, but dunya doesn't add to them. Yes, it's a blessing for dunya that these people are taking care of the dunya. Sayyidina Rasulullah says, "Ni'ma sahib al-mal al-mu'min." Yes, a good mu'min is the best person to take care of money. Why? He's going to spend it, not a mu'min, he's going to spend it for good. Or he's going to be careful of the court of Allah Ta'ala. But dunya itself isn't beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by itself. And that's why, subhanAllah, it's mata'al goes quickly. And Sayyidina Rasulullah also says, "Dunya mal'una ma fiha." Yes, the dunya is cursed. Allah Ta'ala sends this curse upon the dunya, and everything in the dunya, other than remembrance of Allah Ta'ala, and everything associated with remembrance of Allah Ta'ala. Yes, that's why gatherings like this, trips like this, even suhbah between brothers and sisters, when you get together for the sake of Allah Ta'ala, you guys met when you spoke of Allah Ta'ala, that's not a part of dunya. Yes, Imam Ghazali says it isn't even written down in the books of the judgment, inshallah Ta'ala, as long as it's all in good. That doesn't come out of dunya. Yes? As if this part is in Jannah, it's in the Akhirah. Okay? Masjid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being in a place of remembrance, that's all not a part of dunya. But dunya is, there's gatherings and the people who, when you mix with people who fill your heart with dunya, fill your heart with talking about different money and this and that and earning, that's what brings you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is dunya. You have to run away from these things. Yes, you have to not love them. You just enjoy and love to just talk about the brand newest cars and models and this and that, stuff like that. That is going to affect your heart. Just speaking about it goes into your heart. Just speaking about that makes you one step away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes? So, izhad fi dunya yuhibbuk Allah. If you have zuhd in dunya, Allah ta'ala will love you. So in this book we're really studying the attributes of the people who Allah ta'ala loves. Who Allah ta'ala loves. And one of them is to have zuhd in the dunya. Do not care. Don't worry. If you have zuhd in dunya, the outcome would be what? It would be that if someone, is in struggle, you would put them before yourself. You would serve them. If someone's hungry, you would feed them before yourself. If someone is sick, you wouldn't sleep. You would go take care of them. Yani, subhanallah, we become people who are serving, people who are working towards Allah Ta'ala, and we always put ourselves last in the aspect of dunya. Yes, doesn't mean we don't take care of our needs, because that is also an amana, that's also something Allah Ta'ala asked about, and it's something that we need in order to go ahead with our chores that Allah Ta'ala created us for. But don't be attached, let the dunya control. Yes? Like I always say in the classes that I give to the public usually, I say to them, I try to give them advice that is relevant to them. I say, don't, enjoy food, enjoy things, go out, but don't make it control in your life. Don't become someone who, their brand is that they live for food or tasting good food or something like that. Don't make it your life is just going around tasting different restaurants, for example. Don't make it a thing that cars are just you buy every year, you're changing your car, you're trying to upgrade, just showing off and taking pictures with that. Don't make that. Don't be like someone like that. That's dunya. That's clear dunya. That's exactly what we're saying about food. Yes. But outside of that, if you don't care, you don't mind. Some of the most wealthy people who don't have dunya in their hearts, find that they don't care. They live a very simple life. I've visited some shuyukh and stuff, subhanAllah, Allah has given them a lot of dunya, but it all goes into good, subhanAllah. They live a very, very simple life. They buy a house so that they don't have to worry about being under the mercy of a landlord or something. It's a good intention, take care of the family. they buy a car that's sustainable, they can take care of the family with, and that's it. But all of the extra money, you find them feeding people, find them building masjid, taking care of the fuqara, supporting the students, other things like that. This is really the meaning of the hadith when Sayyidina Rasulullah says the best person to take care of, have money in hand is a Muslim, is a taqi. Why? Because you will be spending it in what Allah Ta'ala wants. As for dunya itself, Allah doesn't care about it. Doesn't mean anything, yes? So you can use it as a means for things, but don't ever prioritize dunya. So he says, وَالزُّهْدُ أَحْسَنُ مَنْصِبٍ بَعْدِ التُّقَى وَبِهِ يَنَالُ مَقَامُ أَرْبَابِ الْعُلَى. How did the masters, the scholars, the real leaders in Tazkiyah, how did they reach these high ranks? Because they didn't care about dunya, because dunya was definitely there. Once, it's a bit hard sometimes to think about just letting go of all these things and not worrying about them, but once you achieve that, what happens is your life changes, subhanAllah. You will have so much energy to focus and put in the right place. We cannot, as we just said in Qana'ah before, you can't put your energy in two places at the same time. If your priority in life is all these things, you won't have time, you won't have place in your heart to put other things. So, you look at the four imams in fiqh, for example, look at the Imam Tassawuf, you look at, Imam in all different fields. Dunya wasn't a priority, and they were able to achieve so much. Yes? Look at the Sahaba, Sayyidina Rasulullah, the early Sahaba, that Sayyidina, Mus'ab bin Umayr, the Sahabi who sent to Medina. He was from a very rich family in Mecca, yes? If he would walk past the street of Mecca, the whole street would smell like amber and oud and all types of perfume just from his smell. They say, Mus'ab walked past this street. Right? Subhanallah. When he entered Islam, he lost it all. His family, they prevented him from all of the wealth he had. He became one of the poorest Sahaba. He didn't care. He knew what it was. And some narrations say that Mus'ab bin Umayr, people would pay money to have their clothes washed in the water that his clothes would be washed with, because the perfumes that come out of his clothes were so good smelling, back in Jahiliyyah. And he accepted Islam very young. He was in that age where he was looking forward to these things, subhanAllah. But Allah Ta'ala opened his heart. So dunya left his heart first, and then he left dunya without worrying. He went to Medina as an ambassador to Medina before Sayyidina Rasulullah. Yes? And the people of Medina, some statistics say that there were around 20,000 people when Sayyidina Rasulullah went to Medina. So imagine the whole country was believing Sayyidina Rasulullah before he even came, through da'wah of these Sahaba. How did he die? He died in the battle of Uhud. Battle of Uhud, which one of the earlier battles. After Badr, the next year was Uhud. Sayyidina Abdur-Rahman, one of the 10 people who were granted Jannah. Yes, Ashar Bashirin. He was granted Jannah by Rasulullah at the end. He lived a long life, okay? And he lived to the time when the Sahaba received a lot of wealth and money. Time Sayyidina Umar, he had so much money and wealth from Persia. Imagine opening Persia, it's all built of gold. The whole country is gold. Okay? And it all comes to Medina. What did he do? He didn't take anything for himself. He spent it in good. The money that people had stolen from people, take it from them, and just didn't give back to people. So the Sahaba, subhanAllah, some of them received wealth. When he was about to break his fast, he would fast all the time to Allah Ta'ala. He was given food and he started to cry. SubhanAllah, he didn't eat. And they said, what's wrong with him? He said, Mus'ab bin Umayr was killed in Uhud, and when we went to bury him, we could only find a small piece of fabric. If we cover his feet, his head, his feet shows. If we cover his feet, his head shows. So we decided to cover his head and cover his feet with plants. Sayyidina Mus'ab bin Umayr. So that's zuhd, yes? SubhanAllah. And Sayyidina Abdur-Rahman was granted Jannah. So if he accepted dunya, he wouldn't change anything. There's nothing to lose. He's been told Allah has accepted it, Allah says, and he kept on crying. And he said, قُتِلَ مُصْعَبٌ بِن عُمَيْرٍ وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ مِنَّا. And he's better than us. And I'm scared that our good deeds have been brought forward to us in this dunya. And he didn't eat that day, subhanAllah. So that's the zuhd the Sahaba had. SubhanAllah, the early Sahaba who passed away, they missed out on the dunya, subhanAllah. But what drove them to doing that? What pushed them forward to living this life? To sacrificing themselves to Sayyidina Rasulullah? Because they had proper zuhd. Dunya doesn't have a place in the heart anymore. It's not giving up what you love. You no longer love dunya anymore. It doesn't make a difference. You're not going to be sad or depressed. You're not going to live a sad life. No, you're going to be happy with your life. You're going to understand what you're created for. SubhanAllah. So that's the state of zuhd the Sahaba. It says, وَمُحِبُّ دُنْيَا قَائِلٌ إِنَ الطَّرِيقِ إِنَ الْخَلَاصِ كمسكر شرب الطلع. And the person who loves dunya and is attached to dunya, has dunya in their heart. You find the same person looking around saying, where is the path to Allah Ta'ala? Where's the tariq? I don't know how to get there. I'm confused. I'm lost in my life. Most people who love dunya, they feel lost in life in some way. And then where's the tariq? How do you get to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala? They're confused. Okay? And they're so confused that they start to call out, make claims that, life doesn't have a purpose and I don't know what. SubhanAllah, it's ayn al-khalas. And how do I get out of the punishment that the adab? I'm living in hell. I've got dunya, but I'm not happy. I don't know how to get there. I don't know what to do. How do I get out of it? It says, and it's exactly like a person who's already drunk, and they go and they drink more, and they drink more alcohol. They just get worse and worse. You're trying to look for a solution through the dunya, other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you won't find it. He then says, واترك من الأزواج من ما ساعدت في طاعة واختر عزوبا فضلا. He's not talking about marriage in Islam, okay? And he's talking about marriage from a Sufi person and also from a Shafi'i person as well, which is, we said he's one of the great fuqaha. When do you prioritize marriage in life? When does marriage become a priority in life? This is for someone who's not married yet, of course. But someone who's married, of course, that's not the situation, but someone who hasn't married yet. When do you prioritize marriage in life? It depends on who you're going to marry. On who you're going to marry. Is a Sufi someone who doesn't marry someone, who marries someone who they don't like, who they're not attracted to? No. But also in marriage, Sayyidina Rasulullah says, فَاظْفَرْ بِذَاتِ الدِّينِ تَرِبَتَ يَدَاكَ. Yes? Make sure that you look for someone who will take care of your religion, or else may your hands turn into dust. May you fall into the dust, and may you fall into the ground and your hands be covered in dust. If you're not going to prioritize deen in your closest intimate relationship, in the relationship where your kids will come from, where the barakah in your house will come from, what else do you want? Yes? So if you can't find someone who will bring you close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, don't get married, it's better. No, don't get married, yes? But someone's going to bring you further away from Allah, it's not something that you should do. No? So he spoke about physical things, clothes, food, and also in marriage. Don't marry someone who won't be able or won't want to get closer to Allah Ta'ala with you. Why? Because you will destroy yourself and them as well. He says, then he says, لسلامة الدنيا خصال أربع.
لسلامة الدنيا خصال أربع غفر لدهر القوم منعك تجهلا وتكون من سيد الأناس آيسا ولسيد نفسك للأناس بابلا.
To escape from this dunya, there's 4 keys, or there's 4 qualities that will help you get away from this dunya or help you achieve zuhd easily. There's 4 qualities that you need. Okay? So he's going to summarize them in the next few, these 2 lines of poetry. He says, غَفْرٌ, and subhanAllah, if you think about it, you would think to get away from it, to achieve zuhd, probably think what you need is to just get rid of what you have, and that's it. That's not going to achieve it. No. You find that advice he gives you is very interesting. It's a different thing than what you would think. Okay? But these things will actually help you achieve zuhd in your life. What are they? Number 1, غَفْرٌ لِجَهْلِ الْقَوْمِ. Okay? The first thing, very interesting, that will help you achieve zuhd in the dunya is to forgive ignorance of people. SubhanAllah. Okay? It starts with your relationship with other people. SubhanAllah. To forgive your ignorance. That's the first way to achieve it. And it goes back to a concept that we said that a Sufi is someone who is living in peace in the world, doesn't worry about people. Living harmoniously with this world. Okay? Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, خُذِ الْعَفْوَ وَأْمُرْ بِالْعُرْفِ وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْجَاهِلِينَ. Even people who are ignorant in the sense that they abuse you, just let them go. Don't focus on them. Don't worry about them. Yes? 3 advices from Allah Ta'ala. And Sayyidina Ibn Abbas says this ayah is sent down to fix the akhlaq of people. نزلت في أخلاق الناس. Yes? Make sure you hold on to خُذِ الْعَفْوَ. You hold on to forgiveness. Yeah? وَأْمُرْ بِالْعُرْفِ. And you only tell people good. You want people to do good. You don't encourage anything other than good. Your advices are always good. You're someone who always encourages good things in life. That's it. Whether you're with, no matter who it is, Muslim, Kafir, no matter what, you always encourage good. Okay? وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْجَاهِلِينَ. And stay away from people who are ignorant, meaning don't stay away, meaning that don't focus on them, don't respond to them. Okay? This ayah, subhanallah, has a story in Sahih Bukhari. Imam Bukhari narrates that Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu was sitting on the chair of Khilafah, and people would come to him to discuss things with him and have, complain, whatever it is. And subhanallah, someone came that started to scream at him, and abuse him and speak very badly to him. And he got very upset. And he was about to move until he remembered this ayah, خُذِ الْعَفْوَ وَأْمُرْ بِالْعُرْفِ وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْجَاهِلِينَ. He says, خلاص, I'm going to let go. No matter what they said to me, I don't care. This ayah reminds me to just keep my mouth. So the first thing is to forgive ignorance of people. غَفْرٌ لِجَهْلِ الْقَوْمِ مَنْعُكَ تَجْهَلَ. It prevents your own ignorance. If you respond to ignorant people, you're going to be the ignorant one. Why? Someone starts screaming at you and you start to respond to them. What happens? You say something that's not good. You say something, you go lower to the level. You start to make mistakes. Any response doesn't work. The only time you respond is when you are defending the haqq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing else. Yes? Just like Sayyidina Rasulullah, he would only respond, he would only be angry if the right of Allah ta'ala has been abused. Other than that, he doesn't care. Personally, never respond. Never respond personally. Of course, it doesn't mean that you let people step over you. It's not what we're talking about, yes? But it's saying about responding, meaning trying to take revenge for yourself. If someone has done something that is disrespectful, of course, and like we said, always having advice from a teacher and a sheikh is important, these things. But generally, if it's personal, you feel like you're gaining something, you want to take revenge, that's when you don't respond. When you have that anger and that burning inside, that's when you don't respond. That's when you stay back, because it's personal. Now, it says, وَتَكُونَ مِنْ سَيْبِ الْأُنَاسِ آيِسًا وَلِسَيْبِ نَفْسِكَ لِلْأُنَاسِ بَادِرًا. Stop desiring people giving this to you. Stop looking at what other people have. Full stop. Never look at anything that other people have. Ever. No matter what it is. It could be physical, it could be spiritual, it could be lifestyle, it could be a job, it could be a house, it could be kids, it could be a relationship, anything. Don't ever look at what other people have. And worse than that is to hope to get that from them, get something from them. Okay? Whatever people have, whatever Allah has given them, whether you think they can help you or give it to you or not, don't look at it. Someone's rich, inshallah, I'm going to be friends with them, they're going to get money. Don't look at what people have ever. This person's smart, mashallah, they can teach me something. If the person's not going to, if it's not about, you're not going to work on yourself, you're not going to be happy with what Allah has given you, you're just going to seek physical things from people, that is going to destroy the principles of dunya. And for yourself, the opposite. Give everything you have. Okay? So, whatever you have that isn't a priority, of course, when you have something that your family needs or is the haqq of the family, that's not yours. Yes? That's not yours to give away. But if it's something personal, if it's something extra, something that you're hoarding for yourself, and someone comes your way, you give it to them. Happily. You don't hold on to that. So don't seek what people have, and you give what you have. You don't respond to people's ignorance, and you don't become ignorant yourself. That is the way to achieve zuhd, simply by doing these 4 things. Okay? So in reality, it comes back to 2. To summarize in 2 things. What are they? Not falling into ignorance, and not holding on to things. Okay? Not falling into ignorance, not responding to people ignorantly, not talking back, not allowing what they say to get to you, being someone who is generous in their akhlaq, spiritually generous, and also physically generous. Okay? So from the inside, you don't take ego from people, you don't take back revenge from people. That's from the inner side. And the outside, also physical things that you have, happy to give away. That is definitely how to achieve zuhd and dunya. It's that simple. By doing that, even if you have millions, even if you're rich, you will be a person of zuhd. If you just change these two things in yourself, you'll be a person of zuhd and a person that Allah Ta'ala loves. So today's class was about qana'ah and zuhd. Yes, being content and also having zuhd in this dunya. Inshallah Ta'ala, we've had a few classes. I want to leave the last few minutes for any questions, inshallah Ta'ala, that we have before we continue into the next few sections, which the topic's a little bit different than the last sections that we've had, inshallah Ta'ala. So we'll stop here, inshallah, and we'll just open the door for any questions, inshallah Ta'ala. Nothing? Everyone's either understood everything or understood that.
If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you, how do you know if your heart is attached?
If Allah has given you something, how do you know if your heart is attached to it or not? Yeah? By simply, Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, بَلِ الْإِنسَانُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ بَصِيرٌ وَلَوْ أَلْقَى مَعْذِرًا. You know yourself best. So you can test yourself without doing anything, without asking anyone. If that thing was to go for you, if you were to give it away, would you feel upset? Would it break you or not? That's how you're attached to it. And really think about it. Think about it. If this thing was to go tomorrow, be taken away from you, if Allah Ta'ala took his gift back from you, would you be upset or not? That's how you let go. You're allowed to feel, of course, a little bit of frustration, upset. That's normal. But these normal feelings, it can't be something that we stop in our life. Yes, feeling up and down, upset, happy, these things are normal. But you can't be attached to it. Of course, not feeling anything is a very high level of taqwa that we don't expect everyone to leave. It's a good thing. But if someone is to feel a little bit frustrated, a bit concerned, a bit anxious, it's fine. But it's not ongoing. It's not something that starts to build in you. It's not something that starts to control you and you start to get very aggressive, very abusive, you start to scream. That's not zuhd. But if you see, subhanAllah, the example we gave of people passing away in your life that you know, for example, you can be sad about it, really be hurt by it. But if someone, let's say, passes away in someone's life, and then they leave, they stop praying, they stop practicing, they fall into some type of haram, that's being attached in an unhealthy way. So having other things control your heart to the extent that they might make you even fall into haram, that's really what we want to stay away from. Yes? Things that control us to the extent that we might even go against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what we have to be careful from. So even when we say don't let things control you, people control you, it's about not having them as the priority, meaning that Allah Ta'ala is the priority. If Allah Ta'ala, you can test things by saying, if this goes against Allah Ta'ala, what would I put first? If my deen is affected by this $1 million I have right now, would I give it away or would I do that small sin just to have the money? That's when you know that the dunya is your priority or not, yeah? If this person that I love so much was to tell me to disobey Allah Ta'ala, will I listen to them or not? That's when you know Allah Ta'ala is going to. That's, how you can tell this if you're on the right track or not. Any more questions? So the pressure to raise the standards of your career in life. Of course, the advice of the shuyukh in this day and age generally, for most people, is that in the time we're in now, a Muslim is financially smart. Is financially smart. Okay? And in history, like I said, people didn't have to work every single day. Life was a lot simple. You could simply dig the ground and find food. Okay, go hunting and find something to eat. Now in the day and age we live now, the whole universal system has changed. Okay? So a Muslim needs to be financially smart. Needs to be a person who isn't dependent on the system and just waiting for other people to take care of him, to feed them, for example. That's not what a Muslim should look like. But again, you need to be very careful when doing this, that you have the right mindset. Okay? That inshallah ta'ala you intend to support people around you, not just yourself, okay? Support your family, support the needy around you. Use whatever you have to make Islam stronger, inshallah ta'ala, to support the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this has to be a priority. Not just say, I'm going to put these intentions and then I'll just do whatever I want and these will be the way that I Islamify what I'm doing. No, they actually have to be priorities in your life. We live to serve the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then through that achieve whatever you want. And inshallah intend that you even, whatever you're doing, that you to raise people's, to change people's concept about Islam, like Muslims, about in the country they're in. People see Muslims as people who are okay, they can live a good, healthy, progressive life without, subhanAllah, compromising their religion. That's all very good intention to have in this day and age. But like I said, if you were to lose that all, you wouldn't be upset. If you were to lose a job and go back to working as a cashier or something, you wouldn't be upset. You would be happy. If it wasn't, let's say, it's not something that you made a mistake or you did out of neglect, being neglectful all the time, but it's something that Allah tested you. You were in your job and they asked you to do something haram. So you said no, they decided to blacklist you or make you lose your registration or whatever it was. You must be happy, accept that. We don't compromise, we don't do anything haram just for that. Nothing haram is okay except it. Yes? We never compromise with the religion of Allah Ta'ala and we'll strict about that. And we always remind ourselves that we are in this dunya for a reason. In Zuhd, in the section of Zuhd we just studied, that dunya is short, ends, it has an ending. So why should we attach to something and work for something and ending? If what your job is and your career, your aspiration in life is just going to end with this dunya, then it's not something worth investing in. It's something that you're going to take with you to hereafter, yes, invest in it, yes? It's something that just is dunya, you're going to live 40, 50, 60 years and then it's going to end. Wallahi, you've wasted your whole life, yeah? But it's something you're going to take with you. Something you're going to leave behind for other people to benefit from as sadaqah jariyah. That's something that you're going to accept. We said the only time where we have to respond if someone's crossing the boundaries of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, religious boundaries, okay? But again, also we have to take into consideration if your response is going to make them even worse, then of course I said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَلَا تَسُبُّوا الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ فَيَسُبُّوا اللَّهَ عَدْوًا بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. Don't curse the idols and things they worship you, because they will come back and curse Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be the reason for that. But always, of course, have hikmah in it, but yes, if someone is to speak against, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, some of the awliya of Allah ta'ala, we don't accept it, we're not happy, we respond, and if we can't respond, the minimum we do is we leave. We don't sit with that person. We don't sit with the same gathering, where they just, as people start to say, Ya Allah, that Shaykh is this and that, he's a munafiq, and he's this, and he's a liar, and people start to give their own opinions and speak about people. Believe you're not even allowed to sit in that gathering, as they would spiritually strip you from everything else.
So, if someone has listened to me to make a plan, they've got any comments on like some people spend extra time looking to invest to increase their wealth. Is that
Like I said, Okay, is it a bad thing that people look to increase their wealth even though they're okay? What are you going to do with it? First, two questions. Two questions practically. The time you spend in doing this. Is it going to be, let's say, someone without doing any change in life, a very small change, they increase their wealth and they can use it and their life is as it is. They're doing all their actions and their ibadat and even more maybe. Then why not? Yes? Why? Because, but you could use that for good thing. Second thing is, what's the reason behind it? Okay? What is the reason that is pushing you towards this? If there's nothing, no good intention, then yes, maybe, advise what you're doing. But if you're going to use that money and you intend and you tell Allah Ta'ala, oh Allah, give me, make this all the time, Allah, give me, rizq, give me whatever it is, and allow me to serve your deen with it, allow me to serve others with it. Make me a person who if you give, I'm just, a means for it to reach the people. So that I can get the barakah of reaching the people, basically. SubhanAllah. That's what you make dua for. Give me, give me whatever it is, but also make me someone who doesn't fall into my heart, it just falls in my pocket, and you give it to other people. That's what you make dua for. If someone, you know yourself, if someone's wealth is increasing every year or two, and alhamdulillah, the good they're doing is increasing also. It's that alhamdulillah, they're able to now feed people, to give charity, to do this and that. That's a good sign. If your wealth is increasing and all this increasing is your dunya, you're just getting mashallah, new cars, new this, going out more, that's not a good sign. It's a sign that you're just using wealth to feed the dunya. But of course, no one is perfect, but like I said, these are general guidelines that you can use, and everyone has, of course, understanding of themselves and where they can start from and how they can progress in this. But the concept of zuhd has to be something that we all work on all the time, inshallah, until we no longer worry and stress about dunya anymore. But even if the dunya is given to us, it's not our main concern. I can't raise your voice. Dunya in your hand, not in your hand, yes? And many of the shuyukh make dua, so Allah give us dunya in our hand, not in our hand. Give it to us in our hand, not in our hand, of course, meaning that we use it, of course, if dunya is in your hand, but not in your heart, but you still are responsible for dunya. That's why, subhanAllah, we can talk about this actually in detail, inshallah, even when I take a bit of reasons, but it's important that we're talking about the whole thing a little bit more depth in this. The Sufiya, the early Sufiya, in the books of Tassawuf, there's khilafat, there's difference between fuqaha, this is halal and haram, okay? The Sufiya have differences between them as well, different opinions, okay? And in the books of Tassawuf, they would mention this is the opinion of so-and-so, this is the opinion of so-and-so, just like fiqh, okay? One of the main matters the Sufiya discussed and differ about is which one is better, al-ghani al-shakir or al-faqir al-sabir, okay? Which one's better in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? A rich person who is thankful or a poor person who has patience? It's one of the most famous matters of discussion and difference between the Sufiya from the early Tassawuf. From the first book written in Tassawuf, you find this discussion there. So, some of the early Sufiya used to have the opinion that al-ghani al-shakir is better than faqir al-sabir. The person who is rich and thankful to Allah Ta'ala is a lot better than a person who doesn't have money. Why? Because you have the means to thank Allah Ta'ala. First of all, you've held up with the fitna of the money and you didn't fall into it. Number two, you're using it, so Allah, you have the barakah of using it, and you are the reason why Allah Ta'ala, or it's the reason why Allah Ta'ala has allowed you to achieve that. And then another reason is that you've done shukr. The person who is patient hasn't done shukr. And then the other opinion is that no, the person who doesn't have dunya is better. They are chosen by Allah Ta'ala to not fall into this fitna of dunya. Also, they have tasted the pain of not having dunya and seen what it feels like and gone through the test themselves. And going through that experience of not having something to eat not having, going home and not having something to give your family back, not having an answer to your kids, what did you bring back home? That pain, that's a real, real shock to your system. It's a real hard thing to be. And of course, the majority of the Sufiya, the later Sufiya, Imam Ghazali and others, they believe that neither one is better. Okay? Neither one is better. But it depends on your state and how you do it. So some people who are thankful are better, some people who are in poverty are better. And it depends on your situation. And subhanAllah, they say better than both of them is a person who is poor, faqir, but also shakir. Yes, who doesn't have anything, but is still thankful to Allah Ta'ala as if they had money, subhanAllah. Now, that's even better than both of them. That's why Sayyidina al-Masih alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam, one narration says that he was asked, he said there's no good in dunya, in money. They said, why? You might use it for good. You might not do haram with it. He said money leads to haram. He said even if it doesn't lead to haram, you're going to stand longer on their judgment by being asked for every single, piece of money you spent. It's better to just enter Jannah straight away. It's going to stand there. SubhanAllah. Of course, like I said, it's a matter of difference in the Sufiya. And the Sahaba, you find that some of them had that, some of them had that. The Awliyā, some of them were rich, some of them were poor. Okay? So they all agree that you could reach Allah Ta'ala whether you're rich or poor. But it's about having that same concept in mind. For some people, Allah Ta'ala knows you. Yes? Some people being poor is better for them, subhanAllah. Some people, if they're rich, subhanAllah, their heart is too weak, they can't deal with it. Okay? Some people, subhanAllah, if they're poor, they won't have any patience and they would fall into a fitna. Some poor people, subhanAllah, they love dunya more than rich people 1,000,000 times. Which is the poorest countries, you find people that they just put pictures of America and this and that and dream lives everywhere. They live this life where they're just looking forward to living that life, subhanAllah. That person is worse than a person who's in the middle of living in a skyscraper in America. It's in their heart, but they don't have it. That's the worst. Yes, not having dunya and having dunya in your heart at the same time. That's the worst. SubhanAllah. So, SubhanAllah, like I said, to summarize everything, not having dunya in your heart is the most important thing. And then, like the latest Sufiya say, whatever Allah Ta'ala puts you in a situation, according to your situation, your state, if you're in a situation where you're supposed to work, where the reasons of halal rizq are there for you, you're in alam asbab, as we spoke about in the hikam, yes, you're in a situation where you have people dependent on you, where working, there's indications telling you that now your job in life is to work to serve people, not to work for yourself, then work and achieve goals in life, serve people. If everything in your life is telling you that you need to let go, the money's income is haram, the chances you have are bad, there's no one dependent on you, and you're just searching for dunya and you don't know what to do with it, and most likely you'll fall into haram, then just forget about it. Be poor and happy with it. As we mentioned in the hikam, depending on your situation. So, this is one of the matters, I guess, in Tasawwuf, like I said, that were mentioned, and there's many quotes, for both teams in Tasawwuf, but they all agree that if someone doesn't have dunya in their heart, that is what counts.